So I'm just going to be reading from my book, For Want and Sound, which to me is about boundarylessness in language, a boundarylessness that, to my mind, both makes enormous freedom, but in the very same gesture takes it violently away. So For Want and Sound, and it's not continuous, it's selections. Text beneath text, bone beneath bone, unreachable, lacking the desire, distinction, touch, bridge beneath bridge. The polluted waters of the story in the back. Instead of moving, we kept making additions, imagining additions, window, terrace, room. The men never came. He hated his neighbors and drank easily their water, save below text. A baby book, a flyleaf, a Bible, a bottom, the rolls and reams curled so tightly, the effervescence, translucence buried, bequeathed but not in time. Her picture falling out. The floorboard that nothing could hold, the innocence, the projection, but it was so long ago. The book beneath the bed, the cover completing story. A bridge that no one mentioned, that curled against its own beginning, which was marked in stone, in curl, calamity, and leaf, in rotted twining, calm. The word for when, for want, for hold, for help, the sound covering our speech. The room for want and sound, structure and sand. A rocky beach, a breech berth that no one remembers, closer to the door or to the window, and the roots that needed to be wrung out. Outside of the house, the blue lines, the smudge that stood for street, what gets lost in document. St. Petersburg becomes Petrograd, becomes Leningrad, becomes St. Petersburg. We huddle together by the yellow against the sound. There is a white light at the top of your head, a picture part of translatable, past Europe, part of Europe, as we watch the man walk down the street, as object of our own dissolve, the nothing held away. A body tilted until it is almost a wall, and then still more wall. We huddle together against the street, a house. As all notes follow another, I unearth this step from time. A moving past body and back into speech. We all got back into the same bed. Choose stairs that are beautiful to you. Your feet are on the first step. Put your hand on the railing. And the film? A country that becomes itself. A century that undoes itself. In defense, shivering like that, we crossed the street. She came undressed in sound. They pulled out their papers, their particles of sound. Because Marguerite becomes Madrid, Lucia, Paris, and Alice Ubu, Lisbon. Athens stays as it was. Montauk, Amatganzit, Setauket, Quag. Because beyond the doorway, and Berlin was once the capital of Prussia, the Polish town of Lutz. We drew a map. There are letters that are coming right at me, what this meaning would address. I open my mouth, I rush towards story, as you are incomparable. Your bones are radiant inside this water, I will put it in the book. Dancing in the destructed corridor, only imagined, the substantiated street, abandoned. 12 dark rooms and light rooms, 12 languages, and memory. There is this hole, which figures into speech. We sat on the steps in the park, in the existence of park, way past skin. In the middle of the calming, the nation, way past existence so gestural. Your mouth and then my mouth swaddled an entry. We read the beginning and then the end. I was alone and then not. The spine drawn down the middle of the leaves, existent, executed, the possibility of extinguishing, we left it alone. The leaf that needed to be filled in, a figure, a feature, alone. Towards a leaf of elegy, we sat in the park, swarming leaf and title recumbent. Read, find, underline, discard. The earth bloody, the between bloody, and the bed clean, the discarded, dusted, and red. The return that is away from me and from here, facing here, unread. To come back to your body and to the future of your body, between the capacity for absorption and the sound absorptive, between the motion and the measure and the two books wavering, inconsistent, inconsequential, I reach for the most important thing, which breaks off. As our two skins touch in the imperfect, the square that is analogous to cell, the baiting back, betrayal. Every notebook from time 1 to time 2 found and flung into the river, this book of notation, the shock and surfeit, the ink bleeding and the mouth bleeding, the cells sharp and cornered, corporeal, tinged with water, plunged, plummeting, penetrating, the long drawn-out silver that is not being met. In disparate sheets, cells, shells, bound from here, in found footage. The surface becomes the sound, the water edging in near, floating away. Written in every corridor and then forgotten, remnants of every language, in this leftover sound. It was a house without corners, a centrality that opened up room, that gestured toward this end and to its own beginning. The rooted leaves, the names in the tree trunk, supports scribbled over. Written from India, from France, Quebec, Italy, Israel, Palestine, Rwanda. In past, present, spoken over anywhere but here. Every threshold swung wide. The writing, rewritten, swung wide, bloodied end. Germany retraced, and the leaves that followed. The pockets of sound and enclosure. Of the rhythm, outside of fusion, the dead tree and the split tree, and the overdrawn path of left, the leaves outside. I wrote partition to be able to erase, to be elsewhere partition, elaborate pattern, elsewhere. What is the remainder outside this sound? So much love that it is not about love. We sat in the park, scribbled over. I dreamt of existence of park. It was in writing. A long bed, a sound, a vowel, a held out, a vowel.